This man is an American hypnotist, or at least he was. He's no longer alive. Ralph Slater. This was his book, Hypnotism and Self-Hypnosis, published in circa 1951. And this is the man who almost very nearly got comedy stage hypnotism and hypnotism for any form of entertainment purposes completely banned in England, United Kingdom. But this is the man who in the early 50s saved hypnotic entertainment in England, Mr. Peter Casson, who founded the Federation of Ethical Stage Hypnotists, C.A.S.H. You'll notice on Peter's Hypnosis show poster from pre-1952, no mention about ages of volunteers, because at that point there was no legal rule. However, after the American Ralph Slater had hypnotised somebody and not brought them fully out of trance effectively, and thus the individual complained of feeling depressed and suicidal, and this led to Parliament being lobbied to ban hypnosis completely. Fortunately, Peter Casson was such a household name at the time, post-war, that he had enough influence to be able to lobby and say, no, let's just regulate stage hypnosis. And that is why the 1952 Hypnotism Act was brought into place, so people have to apply for licences to perform any form of hypnotic entertainment in each local licensing authority for each individual performance. And that's why we can see that this poster now says people of all ages except babies are welcome to the show, but those under 21 cannot take part, because at the time the rule that came in with the 1952 Hypnotism Act was that people under the age of 21 could not be hypnotised for entertainment. And indeed, a similar rule exists to this day, although back in Peter's time, it was that persons under the age of 21 are prohibited from participating in the exhibition of hypnotism imposed by Section 3 of the Hypnotism Act 1952, which still applies, albeit that it's now got additional rules added to it by way of the 1989 government guidelines and 1996 model conditions and the effects of the Licensing Act 2003, plus the considerations of health and safety law and duty of care law and whatnot. The only difference being the age limit has now been dropped so that volunteers who must be aged 18 or over may leave the stage at any time, participate at their own free will and at their own risk during this entertaining demonstration of hypnotic style phenomena, which is being presented strictly for scientific and research purposes only. So yeah, it was American hypnotist Ralph Slater not awakening somebody fully and not fully cancelling out any suggestions that led to somebody feeling suicidal and depressed, and the hypnotism as entertainment nearly being banned completely in England. But thankfully the Hypnotism Act 1952 was brought into play, which frankly I think should be strengthened, and I think it should apply worldwide. And as you'll see at the links above or below this video, there are reasons why I clearly state that nobody should hypnotise anyone under the age of 18 for entertainment purposes anywhere in the world, even if it is legal and lawful there. Because it could still be argued that if you knew your subject fully, you would know that doing so could potentially cause them psychological or emotional or self-esteem issues in the future down the line, and that therefore it would arguably, some could argue, be incompetent and negligent of you to use volunteers under the age of 18 for entertainment hypnosis purposes. Anyway, check out the links above or below this video. And by the way, it wasn't just Ralph Slater who nearly got hypnosis banned. That was in the 50s. Well, as you can see at the links above or below this video, in the early 90s, a lady died hours after a comedy stage hypnosis show presented by a hypnotist called Andrew Vincent. The lady, Sharon Taban, died several hours later. Now, finally, after investigations by the Home Office and pathologists and stuff, it was finally ruled that hypnosis played no part in her death whatsoever. However, it still caused a campaign against stage hypnosis, and there was still a government review into hypnosis, and there were more model conditions attached to getting a licence to perform under the 1952 Hypnotism Act as a result, to make things safer for the public, and consequently investigations were done and things were tightened up. But there were people trying to get it banned in the 90s, and since then around the world dozens and dozens of people have been successfully sued by people claiming emotional or psychological damage after taking part in a stage hypnosis show or performance of hypnotic entertainment. And there have been, this is mainly because the insurance companies, as a rule, it becomes cheaper for them to settle out of court than it would be to go to court, argue and win the case for the hypnotist. Now, fortunately, many of these have never made the media, but I'm aware of them because I've been an expert witness in some cases. Thankfully, that was successful for the hypnotist, where they didn't end up having to settle out of court, but hey-oh. The thing is that sooner or later these things do hit the press, and over the years there have been reports on stuff, and every time there is, it has a negative effect for professional hypnotists who are properly insured, have proper risk assessments and do things fully legally, lawfully licensed, insured and what have you. And it looks worse if the hypnotist that ends up in the media is one who isn't insured properly, isn't trained properly, doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't have proper risk assessments in place. And sadly, that's the case with a hell of a lot of people in the industry, especially those being led by the blind who are telling them it's okay to go and do street hypnosis in England. Well, it really isn't. There's some ways you can do it legally, lawfully and safely without the need for a licence. But more often than not, you do need the permission from the local authority, certainly if you want your insurance to remain valid. But these are all things covered by the transparency template and at the other links you'll find above or below this video. But watch on for more about the true dangers of stage hypnosis, street hypnotism and hypnosis for entertainment, and how to mitigate them to make it basically as safe as can possibly be. And yes, it sounds outdated, but the 1952 Hypnotism Act does still apply in England. In fact, if you do a Google search on Robert Temple, who's one of my hypnosis students, and the words Hypnotist Bolton, you'll see that in February 2024, The Guardian, BBC, Bolton News, ITV, Daily Mail, Manchester Evening News, papers galore, radio stations and television as well, covered the fact that Robert, with some help from myself behind the scenes and legal experts, managed to get the 42-year-old ban, 42-year ban on hypnosis shows in Bolton lifted. They actually chose to ban entertainment hypnosis. So prior to February this year, if you were doing entertainment hypnosis of any form in Bolton, without doing it the way I teach on the transparency template, so that you're legally and lawfully within the law, so your insurance would still be valid, then the fact is that you would actually have been breaking the law. So thanks to Robert Temple and Bolton Council for making the right decision based on what was submitted to them, that ban has now been lifted there. But continue to discover the dangers of hypnosis. So, on February the 22nd, 2024, on my return from Blackpool Magic Convention, I put this post up, Dangerous, Illegal and Incompetent Hypnotists and Magicians Using Hypnosis, relating to what I'd witnessed of people doing street hypnosis on the streets, in the Ruskin and at various other locations around Blackpool, without the correct insurance cover, without having permission from the local authority under the 1952 Hypnotism Act, and without using any other approaches that would mean that they were operating legally and lawfully within the law, and health and safety was ridiculous. Well, yesterday, the 5th of March, Adam Evans publicly posted, it's publicly viewable for all to see, hence of this video, says, "I do hypnosis in my close-up set. I've done the courses and it's not dangerous, as I'm a pro. I can do it anywhere and people love it." Oh, okay, well, that's interesting, to which I responded, "Adam Evans, not legally without a licence for each show from local authority you can't. If you do, then you're breaking the law and will automatically have invalidated your insurance, which likely does not cover people whilst hypnotised anyway." Another response I put was, If you've not studied the transparency template, I can also guarantee that you are not abiding by all health and safety and duty of care best practices and legal regulations, in addition to breaking the law and invalidating your insurance. I went further. Adam Evans, clearly you have no clue about the real dangers of hypnosis. You will be wise to watch every video and visit every information link here, and then a link. Then get, study and put into action what is taught on transparency template. Either that or keep breaking the law and invalidating your insurance whilst putting people at risk. And then Adam Evans, I can also pretty much guarantee that you either don't have a risk assessment for your close-up act, or that if you do, it's not fit for purpose in British law in terms of hypnosis and suggestion activities in live performances. And I bet you don't do a venue-specific risk assessment for each venue, as is arguably a legal requirement to ensure insurance remains valid. But all that's moot if you are not operating legally and lawfully within the 1952 Hypnotism Act, 1989 and 1996 Government Model Conditions and Licensing Act 2003, plus all associated health and safety and duty of care laws. To which he responded, I do it safely and I continue to do it. Next year I'll do it in the Ruskin as part of a magic effect. I do it all safely. So he's not addressed insurance, licensing, health and safety. He doesn't have a clue, basically, based on that. To which I've responded, well done, you just admitted to breaking the law. Are you proud that you are breaking the law? Are you proud that basically you therefore cannot possibly be insured when doing such as without doing things both legally and lawfully within the law of the 1952 Hypnotism Act and amendments? You will have invalidated your insurance cover. Although that said, I'd confidently predict you do not have insurance cover that clearly states it covers you for whilst people are being hypnotised and or involved in any form of hypnotic suggestion, work, activity, performance, etc. You are part of the problem that is magicians and mentalists doing just a bit of hypnosis or suggestion in their work and breaking the law, mainly the ones who've not been taught by me, because if you've studied the transparency template, there's more chance you're actually doing it legally, lawfully, licensed, insured and whatnot. Fact, one day when something goes wrong again, and it will sooner or later, that gets publicly reported on in the media, it will massively harm the whole hypnosis industry, just as it did in the 90s when someone died after a stage hypnosis show. You clearly don't have a clue what you were doing, or even worse, just don't care, and that makes you in law negligent and thus non-compliant with all your legal duty of care and health and safety obligations in law. As previously stated, you will be wise to watch every video and visit every information link here. But chances are you won't, as clearly you do not care about people's safety or the laws. And then I dare you to post up proof of your insurance cover here then, insurance that clearly states it covers for hypnosis performances and covers people whilst they are hypnotised and or under the influence of hypnotic suggestions. Something tells me you do not have such, but even if you do, it is invalid and useless unless you are operating within the law of the 1952 Hypnotism Act and its amendments. Just to be clear and for full disclosure, here is my current valid public liability and professional indemnity. You need public liability and professional indemnity insurance for stage hypnosis. And as you can see, Alex William Smith trading as Jonathan Royal Hypnotist. Stage hypnotist work excluding past life regression. So you can't do that. But stage hypnosis work, which includes any form of comedy hypnosis, hypnotic demonstrations, you just can't do past life regression stuff, although I have other insurance for that from another source. The policy I have, which anyone would be wise to have, is a medical malpractice insurance, but with a clear stipulation on it, as well as covering for any potential psychological harm claims, emotional damage claims, or physical claims, both of a public liability and professional indemnity nature. It also has to renew on the 27th of May 2024, but we'll do that. But it covers for medical malpractice, professional indemnity, public liability, loss of documents, breach of professional confidentiality, libel and slander, inquest cost. It's really comprehensive. And the thing is that this policy has clearly been, it is hereby noted and agreed to cover stage hypnotist work as well. So entertainment hypnosis. The problem is many people who may be members of Equity, the British Actors and Entertainers Trade Union, believe that because their membership comes with this, a public liability certificate, which gives them, as it says, public liability cover, and this is £10 million public liability cover. They think that this is enough to cover them for doing suggestion and hypnotic suggestion and hypnosis related work as an entertainer. And it doesn't. In fact, when you read the policy properly, it clearly states it does not cover for whilst you have hypnotised people. Simple as that. The equity membership insurance is provided by First Act, and on their own website at hensilla.co.uk, First Act, it clearly states that in relation to stage hypnotist public liability insurance, which is what you would need to be a magician or mentalist using hypnotic suggestion or hypnosis within your work in order to be properly insured for while people are hypnotised, it clearly states, am I covered by the standard members public liability insurance as an equity member? No, you are excluded under the standard members public liability insurance. Is it possible to obtain public liability cover? Yes. Cover is available once you've first registered under the Equity Register of Stage Hypnotists, and then of course pay the additional yearly premium for the professional indemnity and public liability insurance that states are covered whilst hypnotising people. But even then, just getting public liability and professional indemnity insurance cover is not enough, because the chances are you will invalidate it almost immediately, meaning it will not cover you if someone was ever to make a claim, whether that was a false claim or a genuine claim, unless you have completely abided by all elements of the 1952 Hypnotism Act, 1989 Government Guidelines, 1996 Home Office Model Conditions, 1989 Home Office Model Conditions, and the effects of the Licensing Act 2003, as well as all relevant health and safety and duty of care laws that apply in England, or indeed anywhere else you may be operating in the world. You've got to be abiding by all relevant laws of the land in the place that you are. And amongst this, it will mean that if your advertising does not have, and by advertising we mean your websites, your leaflets, your posters and everything, does not have the right wording on, making it clear that volunteers who must be aged 18 or over may leave the stage at any time, participate of their own free will and at their own risk during this entertaining demonstration of hypnotic style phenomena, which is being presented strictly for scientific and research purposes only. If you don't have some sort of thing on there like that, then you're likely invalidating your insurance. This, of course, is a subject we cover in depth in the Transparency Template Revolutionary Approach. And as you can see, this is another one of my show posters. And it clearly says, volunteers who must be aged 18 or over participate of their own free will and may leave the stage at any time during this demonstration of hypnotic style phenomena presented strictly for scientific and research purposes only. It's not just about having the insurance. You've got to be doing things right as well. And whether you like it or not, doing things properly also means having a proper written risk assessment for your activities, showing identifying what the very real risks are and what you're doing to mitigate them. And also you should have a venue specific risk assessment, which is prepared when you arrive at each venue. It should be in writing. All of these things are discussed in the transparency template, because if you don't have those things in place and therefore are breaching your duty of care and health and safety obligations, then arguably your insurance could be considered invalid were anyone ever to make a claim for emotional damage, psychological damage or physical damage if they fell over or something. And remember, you must have the right insurance that's both professional indemnity and public liability, that clearly states that it covers for while people are hypnotised. Otherwise, otherwise you won't be covered. It's as clear cut as that. Yes, it's true that this man, Alex William Smith by birth, better known as Jonathan Royle Hypnotist, who has taught more people around the world who are currently successful comedy stage hypnotists, hypnotic entertainers, and even magicians and mentalists combining hypnosis in their work, but doing so in a legal, lawful licence where necessary, insured and above all else safe manner, in Blackpool in early 2020 2023 did an event, Royal Hypnotist Live in Blackpool, where he taught hypnotricks, pseudo-hypnosis, hypnotic effects, things that look like hypnosis. But at that event, he also fully explained that because the person they are being used upon could end up going into a genuine hypnotic trance, or could end up believing that it's genuine hypnosis being used upon them, that means that it comes under the 1952 Hypnotism Act, the 1989 Government Guidelines, 1996 Home Office Conditions, and all the amendments and elements of the Licensing Act 2003, and ultimately means that the health and safety and duty of care stuff still kicks in, and means that you still need insurance that clearly states it covers you for while people are under hypnosis. Now, arguably, in that situation, you have an argument that you do not need to necessarily get a license for each and every performance, because in law you could argue that you are not hypnotizing people. However, in terms of how you would go about that, it is so complicated and has to be done to the letter of the law to be within the law, that is why we say if you've not studied the transparency template, it's pretty much guaranteed you don't know what you're doing. And if you're not prepared to invest, a few dollars, because I'll put the special offer link above or below, so it will cost you literally, it costs you less than going out for a meal with your partner to learn how to be completely legal, lawful, licensed, insured, above all else safe, then frankly you don't and should not be let loose on the public. Bottom line, go and actually look at the links above or below this video. Go to that page, those page links, watch every video on those pages, and then look at the other links that are on those pages that link to the information of why I clearly state that no hypnotist or hypnotic entertainer or even magician or mentalist using any form of hypnosis should ever be using volunteers under the age of 18 wherever you are in the world. In England, it's actually illegal under the 1952 Hypnotism Act to hypnotise anyone for entertainment under the age of 18. However, other places in the world, you are allowed to, and indeed in America, hypnotists make big money doing state fairs and school prom shows and stuff, but I think those should be banned. And I explain at the links above or below this video why, because frankly, the critical faculty analytical area, the executive function as psychologists call it, is not fully formed until at least puberty, often later. So from a risk assessment point of view, 18 is about right, albeit that, as we mentioned earlier, 21 used to be the age limit. You had to be 21 to be hypnotised back when the 1952 Hypnotism Act came in. It's now 18. There's so many things. The simple fact is the vast majority of people teaching hypnotic techniques to magicians and mentalists haven't got a clue what they're doing. It's the blind leading the blind, or they do know because I've made them aware of it and they just choose to ignore it because it makes it inconvenient for them, and they'd have to buy more expensive insurance cover. They'd have to do things in a certain manner. Yeah, safe, legal, licensed where necessary, fully insured so you don't invalidate the insurance. And well, yeah, it's a minefield. Check out the links above or below this video.